The American Dream costs $4.4 million. That's according to Investopedia, including $1.6 million just for retirement. Or a 20-year-old would have to save about $467 a month. A 30-year-old starting from scratch would have to save nearly $1,000 a month. Waiting till age 40 will cost you over $2,000 a month. And waiting till age 50, you'll have to save $5,300 a month just to hit that $1.6 million retirement goal out of that $4.4 million American Dream. Seen here in order of appearance, that includes $1.6 million recommended for a minimum savings for 20 years of retirement with a retirement age of 65. They estimate $800,000 for 2 new car payments for 2 adults from ages 29 to 74. So a lot of you can save money there by keeping your old vehicle or going with used vehicles. The wedding ceremony, reception, and engagement ring, they estimate at $44,000. Raising 2 children through age 17, then paying for them to attend college, which, as I talked about here earlier in the year, is about right. For those 2 children, it'll cost you over $800,000 to raise them to age 18 and then send them to college. What about owning a home? They estimate a single-family home financed with a 30-year mortgage, assuming a 20% down payment, it'll cost you. And how much will it cost you? About $930,000. For those of you with pets, they estimate $36,000 for the lifetime ownership of 1 dog and 1 cat. For those of you who want a yearly vacation between the ages of 22 and 84, they estimate $179,000. And finally, when it all wraps up, $8,400 for funeral costs. As always, find everything that I'm talking about here today in the video description below, or you can Google the American Dream now costs $4.4 million, and about halfway down that article, you'll find the methodology behind those calculations, which I just covered for you from this table right here. For the rest of this video, I want to talk about how much you need to save for retirement to reach that $1.6 million goal and how I came up with these figures. But first, what do we know about American households? For a breakdown of income in the United States, we can look at the U.S. Census Bureau most recent report from 2022. They release this every 3 years, and here we see in Figure 1, your median household makes about $75,000 a year, or $74,580 to be exact. Figure 2 breaks down median household income by race and ethnicity. And Figure 4 breaks down median earnings for men and women at about $48,000 for all earners, and for full-time workers, men earn about $62,000 with women earning about $52,000 a year. For those of you who follow me on Instagram, you'll recognize some of these infographics that I built. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the average American's peak salary occurs between the ages or mid-30s, around age 34 to age 55. Average salary, of course, is going to look different around the United States. We have this map from USA Today, which looked at the average worker salary based on statistics from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. You can find a link to that in the video description below. Then, of course, we have household income. Here's a breakdown by the top 10%, top 5%, and top 1% of earners by age of head of household on the left. You can find your age range in the table and see where you fall. And while many Americans may have a goal of saving $1 million for retirement, we see here from this Northwestern Mutual study in yellow that many of their savings are below that. Your average American has about $100,000 saved for retirement. However, 1 in 3 Americans have $0 saved for retirement. According to Fidelity's most recent study, here's a breakdown of how much Americans have saved in their 401k on average. And also look at the annual income for retirees in America right now, with most Americans over age 65, or about half of Americans, relying on $30,000 or less in retirement income. And that story looks the same for your baby boomers, with many baby boomers relying solely, or about half of baby boomers relying solely on Social Security, which has a median benefit of $28,000 for men and $21,000 for women. With all that in mind, you might be wondering how I came up with these estimates for how much you need to save to reach the American Dream retirement goal. I rounded up to 1.6 million, so forgive me for the rounding error. That would be 467 if you start in your 20s, and I'm assuming you start from scratch in all these scenarios. 965 a month if you wait till your 30s, over 2,000 or around 2,000 if you wait until your 40s, and a little over 5,300 if you wait to start to age 50 to hit that goal of 1.6 million. Rightfully so, you might be wondering where I came up with those figures. My favorite free tool is investor.gov from the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. They have a compound interest calculator. I'm assuming in each of these scenarios that this individual is starting from scratch, so I enter an initial investment of $1. We know that our 20-year-old, or now you know that the 20-year-old needs to make $467 a month or invest $467 a month. That gives them, with a retirement age of 65, a 45-year investment window. Personally, I like to use 7%, but you can use whatever figure you're comfortable with. And then I use a variance of 3%. So that's going to tell me your estimated returns from 4% all the way up to 10%. For those of you who always ask, where can you get those types of returns? You can check out this infographic from Lexington Law that breaks down your probable returns based on high, mod, and low risk investments. Basically, if you want a higher return, you're typically looking at investing in the stock market. If you want a lower but more conservative return, you might be looking at this day and age in 2024 with these high interest rates, maybe a high yield savings account. We hit calculate at investor.gov, and here are those returns for our 20-year-old with a breakdown if they can get a return of 10% or an average return of 10% over that 45-year investment window, their investment grows to $4 million. If they get a 7% return, which is the figure I typically like to use, they're looking at that $1.6 million return, which allows them to have that retirement defined as the American Dream by Investopedia. And with a 4% return, we're looking at a savings of $678,000. I don't want to take any money away from this person when they retire at age 65. To see those returns for our 30-year-old, we do need to make some adjustments. As I said, they need to invest $965 a month. They now have 35 years to invest from age 30 to age 65, and their returns will look like this. Again, with that 7% return, they'll have that 1.6 American Dream and their retirement goal. With a 10% return, their investments will grow to $3.1 million. And with a 4% return, they'd be sitting on $850,000. Now, our 40-year-old needs to save $2,100 a month. They also now have 25-year investment window, and here's what their returns will look like. With that 7% return, they'll hit their retirement goal of $1.6 million by retirement age. If they invest $2,100 a month, with a 10% return, they'd be sitting on $2.4 million, and with a 4% return, they'd be sitting on $1 million. Now, our 50-year-old that's starting from zero has got a lot of work to do to hit that $1.6 million goal. In fact, they would have to invest a little over $5,000 a month. They now have 15 years between 50 and age 65, and with that same rate of return and variance, if they accelerate their savings with compounded interest over 15 years with a 7% return, they're still going to hit that 1.6 retirement goal. With a 10% return, they'd have a little bit over $2 million in retirement. And like I said, if they use a conservative vehicle like a CD or maybe a high yield savings account, they'd be sitting on $1 million if they're able to save $5,000 a month consistently for the next 15 years. And now it's time for your comments. Does the American Dream really cost $4 million? Let me know what you think in the video description below. And if you want to learn more about how much the average American makes in the United States, check out this video right here.